Hi, everyone. Welcome to Source Snack Break. I am Ren with Source, and today is Monday, June 15th. Before we get started, I'll tell you a couple things about the webinar tool. So you're all muted automatically, but you do have access to the live chat. So you can pop in your favorite emoji to try it out, or you can use the live chat to ask questions or comment, and we'll be sure we answer any questions that you have during the presentation. So bring it on. We love them. We'll also be sending you a recording of this webinar after the presentation, so you can head to our events page or you can reference it later and share it with a friend. So today's guest is Cassandra with the Joinery and
Taryn.
Sorry, you guys, that was really poorly done of me. Can you tell us a little bit, both of you, can you talk about how you both got into this line of work and a little bit about the Joinery?
Sure, I'll start. So I'm Cassandra Jackson with the Joinery. I've been with the Joinery for over 12 years now, so quite some time. Before this, I was in fine art and interior design back in Hawaii, where I was born and raised. And then when
I say Hawaii?
Yes.
Love that. Okay.
Kindred spirit with the Alaska. So when I moved up here, I was just looking for a company that aligned with my values and also kind of focused on interior design. And I luckily found the Joinery and was just in awe that we designed and built our own furniture. So yeah, I've been enjoying it ever since, and I'm the brand manager today, but have had many roles in sales and marketing. So I get to know a lot of the different processes about the company.
Awesome. And Taryn, can you tell us a little bit about you?
Yes, I'm Taryn. I'm the furniture designer at the Joinery.
Oh my gosh.
I've been here for a little over 8 years. And in my past life, I was an interior designer. That's what I studied in school. And working through one of my projects, a client asked me to design a piece of furniture for their project, and that's kind of when I got hooked and set my sights on the Joinery and got myself here. So
I love it.
Yeah.
So we're like a little support group of like designers who used to be designers who are now doing other cool things.
Yes.
But we all like speak the language of designers, which is pretty helpful. Okay, so can you tell us a little bit about the Joinery? How old is it? Just a little bit about your ethos as a company.
Yeah, so the Joinery was founded in 1982, and a good kind of snapshot of who we are is the Joinery builds handcrafted furniture that's here for good, and that goes across many spectrums. We have a shop up in St. John's now that used to be in Southeast Woodstock. Usually we have about 16 builders on staff. Right now we're slowly building that back up. But they use traditional woodworking techniques with solid hardwoods, both locally sourced and sustainably sourced, and create pieces that are meant to be loved for years to come. We started off in more the residential side and have slowly, due to requests, got into the commercial side of the business and started creating amazing conference tables, and just with that same ethos of how we build and design, but it for a commercial setting, which is
okay. Awesome. I love that story. And you're based here in Portland, like founded, like born and raised here.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah. And we have our shop up in St. John has a small showroom. And then we also have our flagship store downtown, which we are in right now in the conference room. That is a resource as well.
Awesome. Okay. So designers, you can wave in the chat a little bit if you have experience making furniture, because we're going to get into the fun nitty gritty of how you guys literally put it together. So can you give us a little overview of the Whitman collection? Why was it called the Whitman collection? Let's start with that. And then can you talk about like what the design process is like? Maybe Taryn, can you take this one and sort of explain like how you guys start a design process for a new piece of furniture?
Yeah, the Whitman line was before my time as the designer. It started before I was the designer, but I can talk about how our process works currently. Basically, we're developing new product quarterly. That process starts with trend forecasting, so looking outward beyond the confines of the Joinery and just trying to understand what's going on out in the market. We are in no way trying to be trendy. That doesn't align with our values. We want pieces that people are going to have for lifetimes and want for lifetimes. So not something super trendy that's going to go out of style. But that process can help us identify gaps in our existing line or places we might want to put some effort into development. And we do that through a design team. We have a person from every department in the company participates in the design team. So we have perspectives from everyone, which is super critical for us and really helpful. And then basically we go through a process of just refining some options, getting narrower and narrower till we have maybe 2 or 3 different pieces that we think we want to develop. We go through multiple rounds of sketches, bring in the shop to contribute in terms of manufacturing and how we're going to put the pieces together and assembly. And then we go into prototyping, which is super fun because we're building the prototypes out of hardwood. They're really beautiful. Even if they're not the final product, they can usually be sold because they're just so lovely.
Nice.
And then we go into production for our showrooms. Cassandra takes beautiful photos or organizes beautiful photos for our catalog and website. And then we go to market.
Nice. We have our first question. Do you work with certain manufacturers for the fabric choices, or do you have your own fabrics?
So we work with other manufacturers. Right now, we actually partnered with a local company, Nest, that offers Maxwell fabrics. That's kind of been our standard for the last year, with some transition with some of our old fabric lines. And then we also use Elmo leather as a standard. However, we also go outside of that quite a bit for our residential customers and commercial of having COM material brought in, which there isn't currently an upcharge for that if people find the right thing and they just want to give it to us to upholster. But yeah, we're fairly flexible with that as well.
Nice. Yeah, I would point out here on the top photo, there's a little bit of Pendleton wool in there. So you guys are famous super lovely Pendleton wool. So that is definitely an option. So look out for those.
Yeah, we're always looking for fabrics that there can be a pop of color, but then also like really last the lifetime, because we want customers to not think about that too trendy feel about the fabrics as well.
Yeah. So do you want to talk a little bit about the Whitman collection? Like what makes it really cool and what makes it different from other pieces in your line?
Yeah. So the first piece that we developed, as Taryn mentioned, it was quite a while ago that we developed this Whitman chair that's shown in this photo. And you'll see in the photo in the top right-hand corner, this joint detail. And so it's hard to tell here, but it's the same joint detail that I have on this bench right here, that it's a mortise and tenon joint that actually goes in together that has this radius and curve to it. So really complex detail, but it really adds such a nice touch when you actually sit in the chair and feel the aprons and feel those joint details. It feels so nice. And it just has this kind of nod to mid-century furniture, but then also just a really classic look to move forward with, and made out of solid wood, which is amazing.
Yeah. And so what are the pieces that make up the collection?
So it started off with the chair, then we actually did the dining table that's shown in the photo at the bottom, and then we actually did a bedroom collection. So obviously more focused around residential. So we have a bed, nightstand, dressers, and then just last year with customer feedback, we developed the bench as well. And then we've also talked about an entry table.
Yeah, the sideboard.
And the sideboard, that's right.
Nice. Okay. So you could have your whole house in the Whitman collection, should you choose.
If you really wanted to.
Yes. Yeah. And that's our goal, is to kind of carry over these lines so it can be a unified look if folks want that as well.
Awesome. We've got another question. What is the weight capacity of the chairs? Do you guys know that?
Good. We don't do formal testing at this point for commercial grade, commercial use, but I know that for all of our developments, we do put it through a rigorous test. They're usually over-engineered for us. For residential pieces, we do have a lifetime warranty, so if there was any issues, you could reach out. But it's definitely something on our docket to start doing actual weight certification testing.
Sweet. Okay, so let's talk about the joinery, which is, for those of us who did do our furniture studio, we know that this is a very intricate topic. Can you talk a little bit about why joinery is important and what makes it so particular with wood? I mean, there's a whole, I feel like there's a whole movement around wood joinery in particular. Can you talk a little bit about what makes it so amazing?
Yeah, so wood is a living, breathing thing. Even though it's cut down, our wood, solid hardwoods, they expand and contract over time. And so with that, and depending on what the moisture is like in the space and the environment that it's going to, that might be different from our shop, we need to be sure that all the joints together are really strong and can live in that space and expand and contract as needed, but then also just stand the test of time. And so wood on wood joinery is something that's a very traditional thing that you learn in school a lot of times in college if you have to take that class. But it's something that we've developed, taking really old traditional techniques and then use modern machinery to help kind of get those precise details together. So on the bottom left-hand photo, you'll see these are all the chair legs of a Whitman dining chair. It was a run of 2 different wood species. And so you can see there that there's a hole for the tenon to go into. So that way it's a cross wood going together. And as that expands and contracts, it can actually still stay together. And as someone sits on it and puts pressure on it year over year, that it stays true and holds up together.
Sweet. And what is this amazing machine that we're seeing here?
That's our clamp rack. So that's where we're able to build, basically glue together boards for the tops of dining tables, the tops of nightstands. And so I have this photo in because it was most likely a dining table top that was used. And so it's pretty fantastic that we kind of rip all the boards to be super smooth, and then we put them in this clamp rack, glue them together, and then pull it tight, and it pressurizes it. So the wood joints of those 2 boards together is actually stronger than the wood grain itself. So that way it can, after years of use, still be a strong glue joint.
Wow. Hey, Taryn, can you talk a little bit, as a furniture designer, can you talk a little bit about how you choose which wood joint to use? Like, is there like any sort of, is it how it looks? Is it how it functions? Like, what is I know there are different types of joins. And so what makes you choose one or another?
It's kind of a multifaceted answer, I guess. So at the beginning of the design process, I'm probably looking at it more from the perspective of, is it going to be an exposed or expressed joint that I really want to show off and make sure it's really beautiful and lovely? And then further down the line, when I'm working with the shop to figure out how we'll build pieces, that's when we get into more of the nitty gritty of like a mortise and tenon that you're never going to see, sizing it, making sure it's appropriate and there's enough glue surface there and all of that good stuff. So it really depends on the type of piece, the part of the process we are in terms of designing and fabricating is how we choose different joints. Certain lines that we have certain joint details that are what create the aesthetic of that line. So it's important to express those joints in those specific lines, like the Whitman, all of the Whitman pieces have that really beautiful mortise and tenon joint. So it's important to showcase that in any new development we do for Whitman pieces. So yeah, it's a combination.
Sweet. Okay, we got another question from a designer, which actually led me to my next sort of topic, which was, what criteria do you use when deciding which species of wood to use?
Yeah, so all of our standard designs, actually, we can build out of any of our standard wood species.
Wow.
So I have my little sample.
I love Vanna White it up. Let's do it.
That's okay. I've already touched them. They're mine. And they're based upon, the pricing wise, they're based upon how available they are, what the pricing point is, and then actually how much material is needed and yield we can get from it. So at our base price for standard is our cherry and maple. I'm sorry, these colors, the color of the camera is not.
It's a little yellow in this.
Yeah, it's a little yellow green. But cherry and maple are more commonly seen. But for us, the most common in our showrooms are going to be the Eastern walnut, which is not as common in this area. This is actually walnut that's grown back east, and it's kind of smaller boards, more golden in tone, really straight grain in comparison. To the locally harvested Western walnut. You can see here it's a wider board, and it includes that sapwood, that really blonde look, and then also our Oregon white oak, which has really been doing well. Sorry, Taryn, I keep blocking right over you. And so any of these we can build all of our standard designs with, or even our custom work. That's a real easy go-to. But for a lot of commercial spaces, if you have a particular hardwood you're looking at, we can look and source that as well. I know I've got some projects working with some ash wood and then other options as well.
Sweet. So it's really whatever the designer is interested in, we can do.
Yeah, I think the only tricky thing is soft woods. So once you start getting into soft woods or woods that don't have as strong of a grain when we're joining things like this, then we'll discuss that at the time.
Got it. Okay. This is so interesting. Okay. So what are some things that designers always ask? Help help us, please. What do we need to keep in mind when it comes to like finishing and hardwoods when it comes to commercial design versus residential? Like, what are some things we should keep in mind?
So one of the big questions I always get is kind of how sturdy is it, both in our chairs, and we noticed already today, and in our dining tables, can it hold up to a commercial setting? And the easy answer for the dining tables is yes, it can. The chairs are something that if we get the testing done, then we can say that for sure, but they have held up well in, I would say, low traffic commercial use. The dining tables, with the way that we join things together, it is really meant to withstand a lot of pressure and use. With that lifetime warranty for the residential side, we need to be sure that if anything happens, we will replace it or fix it. So with commercial settings, we do a 5-year warranty and make sure that we increase any engineering that needs to happen for that space. And then another one is how well will the finish hold up? And that one is we actually can figure out a finish that'll work for their space. So we do tend to use a CV finish that for commercial spaces that's easy to clean, or if you're looking for something else, then we'll look with our vendor partners. And then lastly, can it be customized? And so that's something that almost every product we have can be customized of some sort. There are a few restrictions to dining chairs that I can't because it takes so many parts to put them together. But otherwise, about 30 to 40% of what we do is custom of some sort, whether it be just changing the size in depth and length, or I have this idea, a sketch on a napkin, I had this inspiration, can you guys create something like that?
Awesome. We have another question. Do you do reception desks?
We do. We do. We've had a few examples come through our wood shop not that long ago. We had the pleasure of doing the reception desks and actually office desks at the Windward down in Lake Oswego that integrated some locally harvested Western walnut and then also some metal integration as well. We just got done doing some projects. So yeah.
You also did our desks at our office.
Yes.
Red oak. It is delicious.
Yeah.
We miss them very much. So the other question I have about the wood is, where do you source your wood from?
Yeah, so depending on the wood species, we get it from different spaces, different places. So the cherry, the most, one of our tried and true, just because it's so traditional for the residential side of things, we actually get from a company here in Oregon called the Collins Company, but they have forests that are FSC certified back in Pennsylvania. And so we've had a relationship with them for so many years, and it's just been so fantastic to get the same type of material from a forest that is actually naturally regrowing. And so if you haven't looked up the Collins Foundation, I recommend that. They do amazing things for the forestry industry, and maple as well from there. Our Oregon white oak we get from a few local sources, one of which is Xena Forest.
Yep, we love them.
Have not been on a tour of his forest. I recommend it. Both Ben and Hyla Forest as well. We've been working with them for the last few years and really being able to tell that story a little bit more about the Oregon oak forest. And then getting to share that story with our customers has been pretty phenomenal. And then I don't have any of the material here, but we also do get some from Sustainable Northwest. We have some barn doors that are blue pine and then madrone as well. Right. I have a sample here for that, but it's been pretty amazing. And then one of the woods that we've really been using a lot lately with live edge and with the live edge dining tables is our Western walnut. And so we partner a lot with Gobi walnut, which I think if you've driven on the 30, you've seen those big slabs. Since we moved up there, it's been a great partnership that we buy log. We have a log program with them that we buy them years in advance. So that way they get milled to the right thickness. But then we also have lots of amazing small mills all around, and also Sustainable Northwest. We've been able to get some Western walnut from them.
Great. So if a designer needs something that's FSC certified and wants to choose a particular place where the wood comes from, they can work with you on that.
Yes, definitely.
Great. Okay. And then one thing I really want to touch on a little bit before we run out of time is that you all are BCorp certified, and you have a really interesting, you can talk a little bit about the energy you use to produce these things. Is that correct?
Well, it's changed since we've moved a little.
Got it.
But eventually it will get back to that. So back in 2010, we became a certified B Corp, which is pretty phenomenal that we got on that bandwagon and understood the importance of having a third-party certification about what we're doing. It's kind of a checks and balances of, we know we're doing a lot of great stuff by purchasing the right material, by building products that are meant to actually gain in value over time, that are meant to be loved, and hopefully making no impact or net impact to the community and just giving back to the community in so many ways. And so when we got certified, it was exciting to see every year, the certification, well, every 2 years, the certification does get harder and harder, but we've been continually able to kind of work to just become a better entity in our community, which is what that certification has been. And it's been a good checks and balances for us of knowing kind of where we need to focus on working on and being a better steward to our community, but then also where our team is doing amazing work in continuing this craft.
I love that. So designers, if you need some samples right now, you can go to our website right here and order samples immediately. Before we go, we need to talk about the macrame that is hanging behind you. Can you talk about it a little bit?
So this was our conference room, and up until a week ago, it actually had a giant fully conference table in here. So I got to do a little rearranging before this. And so we featured different artists in our downtown showroom. And this macrame here is one of Holly Mueller's work. And I was excited because it was her first integration of wood, I believe, into the bottom, and some colors as well. It's really great that it adds some texture and highlights the wood as well. So
I know we've got some designers on the line who love macrame, so I just want to point that out. It's coming back, and you can buy local, which is great. So it was so nice to see both of you. Your company is amazing. You do amazing work. Designers, if you're interested in going to another snack break, smash that register now button. And in the meantime, Cassandra, Taryn, it's so nice to see you guys. And I'm really and hopefully we'll be back at our joinery desks very soon. Thanks so much, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Take care.
All right. See ya.